Hello, everyone. Welcome to my recorded discussion about a topic that I chose for this activity. Before we begin with my discussion, let me first introduce myself. My name is Kenneth. I am a hospitality management student first year. And without making this long, let us begin with the discussion. And the title of this topic is the propaganda movement in Rizal's time. But before we go about throughout the discussion, let's first know about the objectives at the end of the discussion. One is to know about the propaganda movement, the propagandists and its aims. And second is knowing about the organizations La Solidaridad and La Liga Filipina and the aims of La Liga Filipina. Propaganda movement is a movement of reform in a peaceful manner. It was established in the year 1872 when three Filipino martyrs, the Gumburza, were executed in Lucena. And after the martyrdom of Gumburza was the formation and creation of the propaganda movement. And this ends in the year 1896 when Rizal was executed in Lipitan. Before we go in detail about the propaganda movement, let me first introduce to you the Filipino propagandists who established and founded the movement. Let's begin with the first one, the most common and familiar one, our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. He was the most outstanding propagandist of among all. Next is Marcelo H. Del Pilar, the backbone of the entire propaganda movement. He was born in Kupang, Bulacan on August 30, 1850, and started the reform movement in Barcelona, Spain. Next is Graciano Lopez Haina, born in Haro, Iloilo on December 18, 1856, known as the Fighting Filipino journalist, and founded La Solidaridad in Barcelona in 1888. And last but not the least, Mariano Ponce, born in Baliwag, Bulacan on March 22, 1863. He assisted Lopez Haina in founding La Solidaridad and is the head of the literary section of Asociación Hispano-Filipina. Now let's go into detail about the propaganda movement. There are four aims in the propaganda movement. One is equality of the Filipinos and Spaniards before the law, since we all know that equality is not really obvious or what really existing in that time, and the propaganda movement wants it to exist at that time. Next is assimilation of the Philippines as a regular province of Spain. If Philippines were to be a province of Spain, the rights and privileges given to Spain would also be given to the Philippines, and that is the reason of the propagandists. Next is to restore the Filipino representation in the Spanish Cortes. The Spanish Cortes is the lawmaking body of Spain, and the reason why they want to restore the Filipino representation is that if there were to be a representation in the court, then the Filipinos would have the right to voice out the oppressions, the injustices, the inequality that they experience from the Spaniards. And lastly, if the three aims will happen, then individual abilities of the Filipinos, then the amount of independence that the Philippines will receive will surely make the Filipinos, free from sufferings. Unfortunately, though, the propaganda movement failed, but the ideas of justice and freedom which it sought paved the ground for the Philippine Revolution, and the Katipunan unrest Bonifacio began in the hills of Balintawak in August 1896. Now let's move to the propaganda groups after the propaganda movement. First is La Solidaridad. La Solidaridad, or Da Solidarity, was an organization created in Spain on December 13, 1888, composed of Filipino liberals who were exiled in 1872 and students attending Europe's universities. The organization aimed to increase Spanish awareness of the needs of its colony, the Philippines, and to propagate a closer relationship between the Philippines and Spain. Next is the La Liga Filipina. A social reform movement was established by Dr. Jose Rizal on July 1892 in a house of Elias Street, Tondo, Manila. It was initially planned in Hong Kong, which is inspired and derived from La Solidaridad and the propaganda movement. And the initial purpose was to build a new group to involve the Filipino people. It was also known as the Philippine League. Now, there are five aims of the League. One, union of Philippine archipelago to a strong, compact, and homogeneous body. Next is mutual protection of the members. If you are a member, then you will be protected against oppressions. Next is defendants against all violence and injustices. Next is encouragement of education, agriculture, and commerce. And lastly, study and application of reforms. The difference between La Liga Filipina and La Solidaridad is that La Solidaridad focuses on righting the deplorable conditions of of Spain, while the Liga Filipina aims or focuses on applying those theories or conditions. Just like the propaganda movement, La Liga Filipina also collapsed, and just Bonifacio, a member of La Liga Filipina, did not join the compromisarios, who were conservative intellectuals and affluent merchants, because he was both a poor and a man of action with radical views. He firmly believed that happiness and welfare of the Filipino people could not be achieved by peaceful reforms, but by violent revolutions. Throughout the presentation or the discussion, there is only one aim, or there is one aim that is clear in the discussion or the aim in the movement, and that is having a peaceful reform to gain their independence. But the difference is that in Anders Bonifacio's group, which is the KKK or Kataas-Taasan Kagalang-Kalagang Katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, they prefer on violent revolution, or they believed in violent revolution than peaceful reforms. And that ends my discussion. I hope you've learned something, even a bit, and I hope to see you next time. Again, my name is Kenneth, and thank you for watching and listening. Bye!